it's done or not. Oh, hello, folks, and welcome back to a special edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. As you can tell, CJ and I are not in our usual rooms. We are here in Las Vegas at the Aria Hotel for the 2021 Market Rebellion Conference. Very excited about it. Really looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys that we talk to every day here in the chat. But we wanted to stop by, give you a quick Daily Crypto Byte, give you some insight on the markets because they are looking pretty interesting today. But before we dive into it, CJ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. As you can see behind us, I mean, this is a beautiful, very lovely hotel at the Aria. And so, like Monty said, we're very excited to meet all of you guys. We were just setting up the booth downstairs. Things are going to be very exciting as the energy builds throughout later tonight and especially through tomorrow morning. We're going to be starting off with Tom Lee. Can't wait to hear his panel. He's also going to be on a panel with Jordan Freed of Hedera Hashgraph, as well as Charlie Shrem, one of the true crypto OGs, founder of BitInstant. I think in around 2013, 2014, that exchange was doing 30% of all Bitcoin transactions in the world. So it's going to be great to see and hear that kind of insight. I'm really excited myself. But, you know, it's pretty interesting because we are getting a nice bounce in the markets today. Things are looking up. I actually think that we're starting to see a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders pattern on the Bitcoin daily chart. And, you know, we just need to see that follow through. I think we need to see a little bit of consolidation at 45K. If we do see that, I think there's a very high likelihood we go into the 50s potentially. If we are to truly see this everything rally once kind of the TNX and perhaps the DXY stabilize. One thing I think is interesting that we brought up in chat last night is that the TNX is actually on a TD sequential buy or sell 9. So it is providing some sell signals or some, you know, take profit signals at the very least if you were long that particular, index. Nonetheless, we're seeing some very interesting on-chain data. First from, you know, one of the very popular analysts, Will Clementi. Can you please pull that one statistic he brought up, because this has to do with whales, and I think it really shows what we're seeing in the space right now. You know, a lot of technicians and other individuals will say, oh, look, you know, we're just making a macro lower high. We're going into a descending triangle. From a technical perspective, I can understand how you could see that. However, when we have statistics like this, where over the last 30 days, whale holdings have grown by $1.6 billion, an equivalent to 37,000 Bitcoins, it is clear and evident that this is not an instance of distribution, in my opinion. I think what we're seeing right now is actually, in fact, an instance of reaccumulation. Monty's also got some more on-chain data that he's going to show you in just a moment, but that's going to be, you know, not only are we going to be showcasing a little bit of the new platform, including some of the sentiment data at our presentation on Saturday, but we're also going to be making the case of, you know, what are some certain top signals to look for, also why we think that we're currently in reaccumulation and not distribution. So that's the things that we've really been focusing on lately. And whether you're attending the conference live or watching at home or participating virtually, that's really the subjects that we're going to try and focus on, because I think it's very important to try and, you know, ease concerns, because, you know, I see you guys. I see, you know, the negative sentiment in chat from time to time when price is going down. I understand it, but we're going to try to put some logic behind it and break it down for, you know, what we see coming through the next few months. But before I keep rambling on, let me pass it to Monty, because I think this data he's about to show is very compelling.
Yeah, this is some really interesting data from one of our favorite sources, and that is Glassnode. And I think it really ties in well with what you were just talking about there from Will Clementi. I'm just going to refresh our memory real quick, because he says, you know, in the last 30 days, well, Glassnode data, it actually shows that this happened a lot quicker, and that although this did happen over the last 30 days, much of it happened over the last just 2 days here. And this is something I referenced, I think, on Monday's episode of the Daily Crypto Byte. But this here is the number of Bitcoin addresses with a balance greater than 1K. So this fits the criteria of what we define as a whale in the crypto space. And obviously, CJ and I have been talking a lot about how the role that whales play in a market cycle, whether they're accumulating or distributing, really determines kind of what point we're at in that market cycle and what direction we're heading in terms of price action. So this right here, I think, is a, you know, very obvious example of what Will Clementi was talking about and what CJ was just talking about. And that is this massive spike we saw in the last 4 days here in the number of Bitcoin wallet addresses with more than 1K Bitcoin. We peaked at about 2176, and that's coming from just 3 days ago where we had 2139. So if you do the math, that does come out to about what Will Clemente was talking about here, just over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin moving into the hands of whales. And that's something that we typically see before that last leg up in a market cycle, before we get that massive retail participation, is we get this supply shock created by the whales that are accumulating Bitcoin at a very alarming rate. So although we've been seeing, somewhat lackluster volume, and the price action over the last 2 weeks, since we basically started the month of September with that massive liquidation event, price action hasn't been all that exciting. That being said, what's going on behind the scenes, I think, is very encouraging. The whales are steadily accumulating Bitcoin. That's, I think, a large reason why we haven't fallen below 40K, even amidst a market that's very filled with fear, whether it be from China, whether it be from the Fed, or just this flight to cash that we're seeing currently with the DXY. So I'm overall encouraged by those metrics, but like CJ pointed out, we're going to talk a lot more in depth about that on Saturday, and I am very, very much looking forward to it.
The interesting thing I feel, and this goes from like a perspective of, if you were a whale or if you were a large institution attempting to accumulate BTC, they have a much more difficult time like buying into strength. They can do it, but their best bet in many cases is to buy the absolute capitulation events, like what we saw during our fall to 29K or 30K during that liquidation. When, Monty was just talking about whales that have over 1,000 coins in their wallet. But if you look at 10,000 coin wallets or 100,000 coin wallets, like the whale of the whale, what would you call that? What's the biggest type of whale? The beluga?
Whales, the Moby Dicks.
The Moby Dicks. Exactly. They've actually been accumulating much longer than just our recent month. They were buying that dip and that massive liquidation cascade to 29K. So that kind of just even further reinforces the point, which I think is tremendously interesting. But yeah.
When you started the show, CJ, you were talking about the DXY, and we talked about it earlier in the week. John was talking about that. Also, I think it's worth mentioning. So I just want to quickly pull up those charts because I think that's been a large contributor to why we've been seeing, somewhat lackluster price action. You, I think, put it nicely on Monday. You kind of referred to it as a flight to cash, and it seems like that's what we're seeing. The market is very risk off. It's been that way for the last couple of weeks with this Evergrande news. And as you can see, that kind of coincides with this performance in the DXY. It's been performing very well. Also, 10-year treasury yields have really, in that same period of time, performed very well. And I think also speak to that fact that we're seeing sort of a flight to cash. But like you pointed out, CJ, we're topping on this TD sequential sell 9 here. Any thoughts on what this could mean for the overall market when you take a look at what we're seeing here with this sort of doji candle on the DXY and this TD sequential sell 9 here on the treasury?
Yeah, they have a very interesting relationship because I think that the larger or the higher that the TNX goes, the more reluctant investors are going to be to enter equities. And so they get that flight to cash, and therefore the DXY has a tendency to rally relative to other world fiat currencies. But I mean, just look at the TA on the 10-year treasury. I mean, you have that ideal doji candle at the top of an uptrend, and then you have the sequential sell 9 and a little bit of follow through in terms of downward action. And then you have a declining CCI. So, it looks as if the TNX is going to potentially stabilize. It hasn't been able to get above that resistance level of 1.6. So we'll see, because I think if we do see continued stability in the TNX, that's going to make a lot of equity investors a lot more comfortable to go back and re-enter some of those positions. And, I'm very interested to hear kind of Tom Lee's breakdown and kind of his bullish thesis tomorrow going into the end of the year. But these are certainly two assets that are definitely playing a factor, or indices, I should say. But nonetheless, in terms of Doge of the day, I don't have one right now. I think it's great that we're seeing strength in Bitcoin. Overall, I think you guys know the alts that we really like, things like Solana, Serum, DOT, Luna. Anything it's the constant theme that we've really been trying to harp on is the fact that anything that's really shown resilience among this reaccumulation kind of downtrend, I think is going to be much stronger if Bitcoin is to truly continue and create a new uptrend. So those are the assets that I really want to look for and keep a close eye on. Man, look at that cup and handle pattern. That looks really nice on OMG. You know, despite not making a lot of noise, Omise Go, as an old, 2016, 2017 currency, it's actually been performing pretty well, despite being kind of an older coin that's less on, is less shiny. But yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to just quickly mention OMG today because OMG, look at this volume, man. This thing is taken off. I know John would be all over this. He talks about the three V's, and I think this is hitting all three right now. I mean, the velocity at which we're seeing price action kind of climb up here, I think is very encouraging. Also, CJ pointed out this cup and handle pattern, and I'd agree. I'm very encouraged by the fact that we're seeing this sort of momentum while approaching a previous all-time high. So I think that bodes well. Whenever you see a sort of steady increase in bullish volume like this, I think it's worth noting. And, OMG has been quietly performing very, very well. One other one I'd like to mention quickly is StormX, because this is one I've been watching to kind of see when we'd start to get that bounce. And this is one level that I did have highlighted as a potential level for a bounce. And that's just because, as you can see, back here in July, we established this level right here at about 2 cents, 2.4 as a very critical level. And we've been kind of lingering around that level here. And I was worried that a potential breakdown could lead to a retest of below 2 cent levels. As you can see, though, we're starting to see the bulls step in. We're seeing some positive price action here with the rest of the market. But actually, StormX is relatively performing better than the rest of the market, up about 6.5%, whereas Bitcoin is only up about 3.5%. So interesting to note here that we are getting a nice bounce here finally, and it's marked at this nice critical level here that was established earlier in the year. So some interesting assets to watch. It could potentially be an interesting weekend given what we're seeing in terms of the treasury yield and in terms of the dollar index as well. So we'll be watching that, but very excited to hear what some of our panelists have to say as well. It's going to be a very, very exciting weekend.
Yeah, just want to reiterate, we're going to be at the booth for the majority of the time, so feel free to come and chat or, demo the new platform. We're going to have a lot of exciting stuff, so we're really looking forward to that. Don't forget, if you are a current member of Market Rebellion Crypto, make sure to refer a friend, because not only will you get $25, but they will get $25 off their first month as well. So you're spreading education, you're spreading these tools, and ultimately, we're all working to become better traders and better investors in a solid community that you guys have really helped build. So we appreciate that. Don't forget, if you'd like to sign up and you're new, you can check out our curriculum and kind of our trading platform at marketrebellion.com/try crypto. And then Voyager. Awesome news about VGX yesterday getting uplisted to FTX. Got a nice pop to about 260 after that. So still holding the VGX. I still have some exposure to that one, just to disclose. But yeah, commission-free trades. Make sure if you're new to Voyager, you can also sign up with the promo code Rebel25, and you can get another $25 as well for free. So we appreciate all you guys do for us, and thanks for joining us here today. Monty, any closing words, sir?
Just very excited about the weekend. We wanted to bring you guys some quick content, and yeah, have a great rest of your day. We will see some of you here, and if not, we will see you again during the next Daily Crypto Byte. Have a great rest of your day, and take care.